I was scrolling through Facebook on a quiet Thursday afternoon when I saw something that made my blood run cold. A listing on an online marketplace for vintage mahogany jewelry box, excellent condition, $250. And the photo showed my jewelry box, the one Thomas had given me for our 20th anniversary, sitting on what looked like my own bedroom dresser. I clicked on the listing with shaking hands and saw more photos. The inside of the box showing the velvet lining Thomas had specially ordered, the small brass key he'd had engraved with our initials, and in the seller's profile picture, I saw my own daughter, Melissa's smiling face. She was selling my most precious possessions without my knowledge, photographing them in my own home, and I had no idea how many things were already gone or what else she was planning to take. My name is Ann Williams, and I'm 72 years old. I live in a small brick house on Magnolia Street in Charleston, South Carolina, the house where my late husband Thomas and I raised our 2 children and built our life together over 45 years. Thomas died 8 years ago from heart disease. He was a postal worker, a man of routine and reliability who loved me steadfastly through 4 decades of marriage. We didn't have much money, but what we did have, we chose carefully and cherished deeply. That jewelry box was one of those cherished things. Thomas had saved for months to buy it for our 20th anniversary. It was mahogany with mother-of-pearl inlay, and he'd had the brass key engraved, "To Annie, my treasure. Love, Thomas." Inside that box, I kept my wedding ring from when my arthritis got too bad to wear it daily, my mother's pearl earrings, the locket Thomas gave me when our daughter Melissa was born, and other small pieces of jewelry that meant the world to me, not because they were valuable, but because of the memories they held. And my daughter was trying to sell it on the internet for $250. I sat staring at my phone screen, reading and rereading the listing, hoping I was mistaken, hoping this was somehow a coincidence or a misunderstanding. But there was no mistake. That was my jewelry box. Those were photos taken in my house, and that was definitely Melissa's selling account. My mind raced back over the past few months, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. Melissa was 39 years old, divorced, with a teenage son named Tyler, who I adored. She worked as an office manager for a dental practice, or at least that's what she'd told me. We'd always had a good relationship, or so I thought. She visited me every week, usually on Wednesday afternoons. She'd bring takeout for lunch, and we'd sit in my kitchen and talk about her week, about Tyler, about life. For the past 3 months, she'd been asking if she could borrow my house key, different reasons each time. "Mom, I want to come by and clean your gutters while you're at your doctor's appointment." "Mom, can I use your kitchen to bake Tyler's birthday cake? My oven is broken." "Mom, I left something in your guest room last time I visited. Can I swing by and grab it while you're at church?" I'd given her my spare key each time without hesitation. She was my daughter. I trusted her completely. Now I understood what she'd really been doing. She'd been coming into my house when I wasn't home, photographing my belongings and listing them for sale online. If you've ever discovered that someone you love has been systematically violating your privacy and planning to rob you, you know the particular feeling of horror and betrayal I experienced in that moment. It's not just the theft, it's the premeditation, the deception, the cold calculation behind it. I immediately started searching for Melissa's seller profile. She had 47 items listed. As I scrolled through them, my horror grew. My mother's china set, the one she'd left me when she died, the one I'd planned to pass down to Melissa someday, listed for $400. Thomas's vintage record player and his collection of jazz albums, listed for $300. My grandmother's quilt, hand-stitched in 1952, listed for $150. The antique mantel clock that had been Thomas's grandfather's, listed for $275. A silver tea service I'd inherited from my aunt, listed for $500. On and on, item after item, things that weren't just objects, but pieces of my history, my family's history, my marriage to Thomas. And under each listing, I saw the same notation: pickup only, cash preferred. Some items were marked sold. My heart sank if I counted them. 8 items sold in the past 2 months. 8 irreplaceable family heirlooms, gone. I looked at the sold listings to see if there were any details about who bought them or when. My mother's silver serving tray, sold 3 weeks ago. Thomas's fishing tackle box, the one he'd used every weekend for 20 years, sold a month ago. My grandmother's rocking chair, sold 6 weeks ago. I felt physically ill. I got up from my chair and walked through my house, really looking at things for the first time in months. The empty spot on the mantel where the clock used to be. I'd noticed it was gone, but assumed I'd moved it somewhere and forgotten. Melissa must have told me some story about taking it to be repaired or cleaned. The china cabinet with gaps where my mother's serving pieces used to be. I'd noticed, but hadn't really registered it, too trusting to question. The quilt that should have been on the guest bed, gone. How had I not seen this? How had I been so blind? I thought back to conversations I'd had with Melissa recently. Had she been dropping hints? Testing the waters? 2 months ago, she'd said, "Mom, you have so much stuff in this house. Don't you think you should downsize? Maybe sell some things you don't use anymore." I'd told her I liked my things, that they had sentimental value. "But you're not using Grandma's china. It just sits in the cabinet collecting dust. Wouldn't it be better to sell it and use the money for something you'd actually enjoy?" I'd been firm. Those dishes were your grandmother's. They're part of our family history. I'm not selling them. She'd dropped the subject, or so I thought. Instead, she'd just gone ahead and done it behind my back. I needed to understand the full scope of what was happening before I confronted her. So I took screenshots of every single listing on her profile. I documented which items were still for sale and which were marked as sold. Then I called my younger son, Marcus, in Atlanta. When I told him what I discovered, he was furious. "Mama, she's been stealing from you. She's been coming into your house and taking your things and selling them." "I know, baby. I just found out." "You need to call the police right now. This is theft. She needs to be arrested." "I will, but first I want to understand why. Why would Melissa do this? Is she in financial trouble? Is something else going on?" "Does it matter why? She stole from you." "It matters to me. I need to know what I'm dealing with before I decide what to do." After I hung up with Marcus, I sat thinking about what to do next. I needed more information before I confronted Melissa or went to the police. I called a friend from church, Patricia, whose daughter had gone through financial problems a few years ago. "Patricia, if someone was selling their mother's belongings online secretly, what would that tell you?" Patricia was quiet for a moment. "Probably desperate need for money. Could be debt, could be addiction, could be gambling. Why are you asking, Anne?" "Just trying to understand something." "Thank you." I hired a private investigator named David Chen. I'd gotten his name from the church secretary whose husband had used him during a business dispute. When I met with David and showed him all the screenshots, all the evidence of what Melissa had been doing, he nodded gravely. "Mrs. Williams, this is clear-cut theft, but you're right to want to understand the full picture before proceeding. Let me do some background work on your daughter, financials, social media, any public records. I should have information for you within a week." "What will that cost?" "My rate is $125 an hour. For this kind of investigation, probably 10 to 15 hours of work." $1,500 to be safe. It was money I couldn't easily afford, but I needed answers. I agreed. In the meantime, I did something I probably should have done months ago. I changed my locks. I called a locksmith and had all the locks on my house changed that same afternoon. Then I went through my house room by room, cataloging everything that was still there and everything I could remember being missing. The list of missing items grew longer than I wanted to admit. Besides what I'd seen in the online listings, I found other gaps. A set of silver candlesticks, a vintage typewriter that had been Thomas's, several pieces of costume jewelry that weren't valuable but had sentimental meaning, photograph albums, the small oil painting that had hung in our bedroom. Some of these things might have been in Melissa's sold listings that I hadn't seen, items that sold before I discovered what she was doing. Others she might not have listed yet, might be planning to list, or might have sold through other channels. I made a comprehensive list with descriptions and approximate values, both monetary and sentimental. The monetary value of everything missing or listed for sale added up to roughly $8,000, but the sentimental value, irreplaceable. I remembered a moment when Melissa was 8 years old. We'd been in the kitchen and I was showing her my mother's china. explaining how Grandma had gotten the set as a wedding gift, how she'd used it for every holiday dinner, how each piece had a story. "When I die, this will be yours," I told Melissa. "You'll pass it down to your daughter someday, and the stories will continue." Melissa had carefully held one of the teacups, her small hands gentle. "I'll take really good care of it, Mama, I promise." That memory hurt now, because she hadn't taken care of it. She'd sold it to a stranger for a few $100s. What had happened to that little girl who'd promised to treasure family heirlooms? David Chen called me 5 days later. "Mrs. Williams, I have my report. Can we meet?" We met at the same coffee shop. David spread out documents on the table between us. "Your daughter is in significant financial trouble. She has credit card debt totaling about $38,000 across 6 cards. She took out a personal loan of $15,000 8 months ago. High interest rate, she's already behind on payments. Her car is going to be repossessed if she doesn't catch up on payments. And she was fired from her job at the dental practice 3 months ago." I felt my stomach drop. Fired? She told me she was still working there. "She's been lying to you. She's currently unemployed and has been for 3 months. No unemployment benefits because she was terminated for cause. Apparently, she was caught stealing from petty cash." Oh, no. "Oh, Melissa." "There's more. She's been going to a casino in North Charleston. Security footage shows her there at least twice a week for the past 6 months. She's got a gambling problem, Mrs. Williams, and based on the financial records, she's lost a lot of money." David pulled out another document. "I also found this. She's been applying for credit cards in your name." "What?" "She hasn't been approved yet because the credit bureaus flag them as suspicious, but she's tried 3 times in the past 2 months to open accounts using your information." Identity theft. On top of stealing my belongings. "Mrs. Williams, your daughter is in a financial crisis, and she's been using you as her solution, selling your things, trying to access credit in your name. This is serious elder abuse." But what I discovered next made everything even worse, because Melissa's plan went far beyond just selling my belongings. I asked David to dig deeper. "Is there anything else? Anything I should know about?" He hesitated. "There might be. I found some correspondence between your daughter and a real estate agent. They've been discussing listing a property on Magnolia Street, your address." My blood ran cold. "She's trying to sell my house?" "I'm not sure yet, but she's definitely been inquiring about it." The emails suggest she's been asking about the process for selling a property when the owner is elderly and possibly not capable of managing their own affairs. She was planning to have me declared incompetent, just like my other clients, just like stories I'd heard from other elderly women. Get control, claim the parent is confused, sell everything, take the money. "I need those emails," I said. "I can get them, but Mrs. Williams, at this point, I think you need to go to the police. What your daughter is doing, it's not just theft anymore. It's conspiracy to commit fraud. It's elder abuse. It's identity theft." He was right. I knew he was right. But she was still my daughter. And I needed to confront her first, needed to look her in the eyes and ask her why. I called Melissa that evening. "Honey, can you come over tomorrow? I need to talk to you about something important." "Sure, Mom. Is everything okay?" "We'll talk tomorrow. 2 o'clock? I'll be there." I spent that night preparing. I printed out all the screenshots of her listings. I printed out David's report. I arranged everything in a folder, organized and ready. And I prayed. I prayed for strength, for wisdom, for the right words. When Melissa arrived the next afternoon, she looked tired and stressed. She'd lost weight, and there were dark circles under her eyes. "Hi, Mom," she said, kissing my cheek. "What did you want to talk about?" I gestured to the kitchen table where I'd laid out all the evidence. "Sit down, honey. We need to have a very serious conversation." She sat, her eyes flicking to the papers on the table. I saw her face go pale as she recognized her own listing screenshots. "Melissa, I found your online marketplace account. I saw that you've been selling my belongings, my jewelry box, my mother's china, Thomas's records, family heirlooms." "Mom, I can explain. You photographed these things in my house." You came here when I wasn't home, went through my rooms, took pictures of my private belongings, and listed them for sale without asking me. Some of these items are already sold, gone forever. Tears started running down her face. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know what else to do. So, it's true? You did this? She nodded, sobbing now. I'm in trouble, Mom. Bad trouble. I have so much debt, and I lost my job, and I didn't know where else to turn. You could have asked me for help. You could have been honest with me. I did ask. 2 months ago, I asked if you could loan me $5,000, and you said you couldn't afford it. I remembered that conversation. She'd asked for money to fix her car, and I'd explained that I was on a fixed income, that I couldn't give her that much. So because I couldn't give you $5,000, you decided to steal thousands of dollars worth of my belongings and sell them? I was desperate. I didn't know what else to do. You could have been honest about losing your job. You could have told me about your financial problems. You could have asked for help in honest ways. Instead, you lied to me, violated my home, and stole from me. I pulled out more papers. And it's not just the belongings, is it? You've been applying for credit cards in my name. You've been contacting real estate agents about selling my house. You've been asking about what it takes to have someone declared incompetent. Her face went from red to white. Did you hire someone to investigate me? Yes, because I needed to know the full truth. Melissa, you weren't just stealing from me. You were planning to take everything, my house, my independence, my whole life. No, I wasn't going to do that. I was just asking questions, exploring options. Exploring options to rob me blind and put me in a nursing home so you could take my house? It wasn't like that. She was crying harder now. I was just so scared, so desperate. I thought maybe if I could sell the house and get you into assisted living, you'd be taken care of and I could use the money to pay off my debts and start over. And you think I need assisted living? You think I'm not capable of living in my own home? You're 72, Mom. What if something happens to you? What if you fall or get sick? Then I'll call 911 like any other person. Melissa, I'm healthy and competent and perfectly capable of managing my own life. You don't get to decide I'm incompetent just because it's convenient for your financial problems. She put her head in her hands. I've ruined everything. I've ruined my life, and now I've ruined our relationship. Why didn't you just ask for help? Why all the lying and sneaking and stealing? Because I was ashamed, because I didn't want you to know I'd failed. I lost my job because I stole from the practice. I have a gambling problem. I'm thousands of dollars in debt. How could I tell you all that? So instead, you stole from your own mother? She had no answer for that. I pulled out my final document, a list of every item she'd sold or listed with values and descriptions. I want back everything that hasn't been sold yet. Everything currently listed on your marketplace account gets delisted today, right now, and returned to my house. Okay, she whispered. And the items that are already sold, you're going to work with me to track down the buyers and get them back if possible. If we can't get them back, you're going to pay me for them. Full value, not what you sold them for. I don't have any money. Then you'll make payments. You'll get a job and you'll pay me back every single penny. Okay. And you're going to go to Gamblers Anonymous. You're going to get treatment for your addiction. You're going to see a therapist. And you're going to prove to me through consistent actions over time that you're serious about changing. She nodded, still crying. And Melissa, if you ever try to steal from me again, if you try to access my credit, if you try to sell my house, if you do anything remotely like this again, I will press criminal charges. I will have you arrested. Do you understand? Yes, I love you. You're my daughter and I always will love you, but I will not let you destroy me to fund your addiction. I will protect myself even from you. Over the next several weeks, Melissa did start making things right. She delisted all the items that were still for sale. She helped me track down some of the buyers of sold items. We managed to get back my mother's silver serving tray. The buyer was understanding when we explained the situation and agreed to sell it back for what he'd paid. We got back 2 of Thomas's jazz albums. We got back the vintage typewriter. But some things were gone forever. The grandmother's quilt had been sold to someone 3 states away who wouldn't respond to messages. The china set had been broken by the buyer and was irreplaceable. Thomas's fishing tackle box was gone without a trace. Those losses hurt. They would always hurt. Melissa did start going to Gamblers Anonymous. She got a job as a receptionist at a veterinary clinic. Less money than her old job, but honest work. She started paying me back $50 a week. At that rate, it would take her years to repay what she'd stolen, but it was something. Our relationship was different now. The easy trust was gone. The assumption of honesty was gone. In its place was something more cautious, more boundaried. She still visited, but I was always aware of where she was in my house, what room she went into, what she touched. I hated feeling that way about my own daughter, but I couldn't help it. Marcus came to visit from Atlanta several months after everything came to light. We sat on my porch drinking sweet tea while I told him the full story. "Mama, you should have pressed charges. She committed multiple crimes against you." "I know, but she's getting help now. She's paying me back. She's trying to change. And if she doesn't, if she falls back into old patterns, then I'll do what I have to do. But I wanted to give her a chance first." Marcus shook his head. "You're more forgiving than I would be." "I'm not forgiving, baby. Not yet. Forgiveness takes time. Right now, I'm just trying to hold space for the possibility that she can change while also protecting myself." One Sunday afternoon, about a year after I'd confronted Melissa, she came to visit with Tyler. He was 16 now, a good kid who knew something had happened between his mother and me but didn't know the details. After Tyler went to play basketball in the backyard, Melissa and I sat in the kitchen. "Mom, I want you to know something. I've been sober from gambling for 14 months now. I have a sponsor, I go to meetings twice a week, and I'm working the steps." "I'm proud of you for that, honey." "I know I can never undo what I did. I know some of the things I sold are gone forever, and I know I broke your trust in ways that can't be fully repaired." "No, they can't. But I want you to know that I understand now what I did. I didn't just steal objects. I stole pieces of your history, your memories of Dad, your connection to your family. I violated your home and your privacy and your dignity, and I'm so sorry." I looked at my daughter and saw genuine remorse, genuine understanding, genuine change, or at least the beginning of it. "Thank you for saying that. I'm going to keep paying you back, and when I've paid back every penny, I'm going to keep going to meetings and therapy. I'm going to make sure I never hurt you or anyone else like this again." "I hope so, baby. I really do." She reached across the table and took my hand. "I know you changed the locks. I know you don't trust me in your house alone anymore. I know you probably never will again. And I understand. I earned that." "Yes, you did. But I want you to know that I'm going to keep showing up. I'm going to keep being honest. I'm going to keep working on myself. And maybe someday, even if you never fully trust me again, you'll at least be able to see that I really did change." "Maybe," I said. "Time will tell." Now, if you're listening to this story, if you're an older parent who's discovered that your adult child has been violating your privacy, stealing from you, or planning to take control of your life and your assets, I need you to hear this. You have the right to protect your belongings. You have the right to protect your home. You have the right to protect your independence and your dignity. Love does not justify theft. Family relationships do not give someone the right to go through your house, photograph your possessions, and sell them without your knowledge. Your things are not just objects. They're your history, your memories, your connection to the people you've loved and lost. And no one, not even your own children, has the right to take those from you. If you discover that your child is stealing from you, here's what you need to do. First, document everything. Take photos, make lists, save screenshots, keep records. You need evidence of what was taken and what's missing. Second, secure your home immediately. Change your locks. Don't give spare keys to anyone, even family members you think you can trust. Consider security cameras if you can afford them. Third, check your credit. Make sure no one has opened accounts in your name or is trying to access your financial information. Fourth, get professional help. Talk to a lawyer who specializes in elder law. Consider hiring a private investigator if you need to understand the full scope of what's happening. Contact Adult Protective Services if you feel you're being financially exploited. And fifth, decide what consequences are appropriate. You don't have to press criminal charges if you don't want to, but you also shouldn't feel guilty if you do. Your child committed crimes against you. Facing consequences is how people learn. I chose to give Melissa a chance to make things right before involving the police. That was my choice, but it might not be the right choice for your situation. If your child is actively dangerous, if they're using drugs or alcohol in ways that make them unpredictable, if they've threatened you or harmed you physically, call the police immediately. Don't wait. If your child is stealing from you to fund an addiction and shows no remorse or willingness to change, press charges. Sometimes the only way people hit bottom and get help is by facing real consequences. If your child is trying to have you declared incompetent or is planning to take your house or other assets, get a lawyer immediately and fight back with everything you have. You are not obligated to sacrifice your security, your belongings, or your independence to protect your child from the consequences of their own actions. And you are not obligated to maintain a relationship with someone who is actively harming you, even if that person is your child. I maintained a relationship with Melissa because she took accountability, got help, and started making restitution. But our relationship will never be what it was. The trust is broken, and I've accepted that. Some of you listening might decide you can't maintain a relationship with your child after discovering they've stolen from you. That's valid. That's your right. You're not a bad parent for protecting yourself. Remember, respect and boundaries are essential in every relationship. Your adult children need to respect your privacy, your property, and your autonomy. If they can't do that, they don't get unrestricted access to your life and your home. Change your locks, monitor your belongings, set clear boundaries, and enforce consequences when those boundaries are violated. Your things matter. Your memories matter. Your sense of safety in your own home matters. Don't let anyone convince you that you're being materialistic or selfish for caring about your possessions. Those objects represent your life, your family, your history. They're irreplaceable. And don't let anyone convince you that being a good mother means allowing your child to rob you. Real love includes boundaries. Real love includes accountability. Real love sometimes means letting your child face the full weight of their actions, even when it breaks your heart. I held my daughter accountable. I made her return what she'd stolen, pay back what she'd sold, and get help for her addiction. It was hard. It damaged our relationship in ways that might never fully heal. But it also gave her the chance to become better. And it protected me from losing everything. You can protect yourself too. You can set boundaries. You can demand accountability. You can love your children while also refusing to let them destroy you. Your dignity matters, your belongings matter, your independence matters. And somewhere in Charleston, there's a 72-year-old widow who fought to protect those things from her own daughter, who changed her locks and hired an investigator and confronted the lies, who's still standing in her home, surrounded by what's left of her memories, holding her ground. You can hold your ground too. Stand strong, protect what's yours, set boundaries and enforce them. You've earned the right to live in peace in your own home, surrounded by the things you love, free from violation and theft. Don't let anyone, not even your own children, take that from you. You're worth protecting. Your memories are worth protecting. Your peace is worth protecting. Hold on to all of it. It's yours, and you have every right to keep it safe. If your children are lying about you, saying you're confused or incompetent when you're not, building a case to take control of your life, you have the right to fight back. If your children have stolen from you, forged your signature, taken your assets without permission, you have the right to press charges, even if it leads to their arrest. I know it's terrifying. I know every instinct tells you to protect your child, to minimize the damage, to avoid conflict. But ask yourself, who's protecting you? If your children won't protect you, you have to protect yourself. Document everything. Keep meticulous records of your finances.